All right. Well, welcome back, everybody. Um, Josh and I, Mr. Tasty K here, have decided that we are going to now recap the Bachelor and Bachelorette series after the episodes air. You know, I thought I had broken the habit, and I watched this last episode of the Bachelorette, and unfortunately, I am hooked. So,
That's how they get you.
yeah, I don't know about you, Josh, but this was a particularly good episode, and I was just in tune with it the entire time. So, things I liked, things I didn't like, but we've got plenty of time to break it down and talk about it. But for those of you, I mean, this is obviously a new thing that we're doing, it's a new show. We are going to kind of do a call in type thing. So, I posted a Discord link in the chat. If you want to add your input, it'll bring you to a lobby, and then kind of when we get to the point where we're going to have people that want to kind of share their input on the episode or anything like that, feel free to just hang out in the lobby, talk with other like-minded individuals, and then I'll just kind of take people towards the end of the episode into our chat room to discuss anything that they kind of want to talk about from it. But yeah, so we just watched. Do you know what episode it was? Episode 7. That can't be that far long. It's like episode 6, right? So
No, I think it was 7.
7.
They're
Okay.
they're decently far along. I think they've got one more week and then it's hometowns.
Yeah. So
So
so after this
moving
episode,
along pretty quick.
yeah, after this episode, they were down to, and obviously there will be spoilers in this, so I hope nobody's watching expecting there to not be any spoilers. But yeah, let me post that we're live here too. Live at. I don't know. Initial thoughts on the episode though, Josh. Did you enjoy it or no?
You know, I I did enjoy it overall, but I I can't say that I feel the same way as you entirely because it was emotional and difficult and um
Oh no, I was broken up about certain parts, but yeah, like I said, we're gonna kind of take
and you
this.
you haven't gone through like the whole season, right? You
No,
just
no, no.
jumped
I
in
I
here.
literally just watched this last episode for the first
Yeah,
time.
so
Yeah,
there was so much that built up, and then just for frame of reference for everybody, I came into this season in love with Katie. I was so excited to see her. She was so cool, and um, some of her decisions that she's made through the season have been a little disappointing, and uh, maybe some of the guys that she's been interested in have been a little disappointing too. So
so you want the best for Katie right now, and you're seeing that some of the decisions she's making are not exactly in tune with what you perceive to be her best interest.
yeah, I kind of am starting to see the stars align, and uh, I'm not having confidence that I'm going to be happy at the end of the season, but
Yeah,
maybe I'm projecting too.
yeah.
So
I mean, it's so like, are you upset with maybe before we kind of get into this episode, like some of the men that have been sent home already, like, you know, prior to this episode, of course, like, were there anybody that you were like, wow, that was a really good guy for her? I'm upset that he's gone, whatever. So,
uh, I
or are
I
you more
can't.
upset about people that are still there?
I've been more upset hearing her talk about guys that she thought that there was really a connection with this guy, and then something shitty came out about him and she's torn up about it. I'm like, oh well, maybe it wasn't too hard to um so yeah, just I mean everybody makes bad decisions. I'll go
I'll raise my hand.
right off with, I'll sign my name at the
I
top
like.
of the list.
I'd like to raise my hand for the
But
bad decision makers.
yeah,
So,
yeah, exactly. If I was on stream, you'd be able to see my hand up in the air.
yeah. Well, when we get a little bit better of computer capabilities, then this will be a lot more natural to have both of us on camera.
Oh,
Um,
same here, brother.
yeah, I know. But yeah, so yeah, watching this episode, so it starts out like I'll take you up to the first commercial break. So it kind of starts out Tasha and what's the why is her name escaping me? Bristow, Caitlin. Yeah, so Caitlin and
Yeah, I was
Tasha.
gonna say I think she's also a Katie, but
Yeah,
Caitlin.
yep. So they both come in and they're talking to Katie and they're saying like, hey, like, who do you think some of the front runners are? You know, who are you liking? Who are you vibing with? Who are you not so much vibing with? Like, you know, what are your initial thoughts? And Katie's response, you know, she initially says Greg and Blake. Those are the first two names. She says Greg and Blake, I'm super vibing with. I like both of them. And then after a little bit of
And
time,
for you to know,
Blake came
Greg
in
got
last
the first
episode,
impression rose.
and Blake just showed
Yeah.
up, right? Yeah, Blake was on
Blake
Tasha's
just
season.
showed up.
Yeah, so Blake is new, and Greg, she's been in love with, it seems like, since the beginning. So I wasn't, as someone who has just now gotten back into it and saw this first episode, was not surprised by either of that. So I don't know about you, but those two names did not surprise me that she threw out. So
No, not at all.
Mhm.
Those weren't surprises there.
Yeah.
She's obviously had chemistry with Greg the whole season, and you know, Blake kind of came in and put on some charm.
Yeah.
And so I guess this is kind of one of the things that I've noticed, and like we'll get into more as the episode goes along. But I feel like Katie has fallen very quickly for Blake.
It looked
And
that way. I mean, come on.
I don't know that I have any like anything I can stick my finger on, but both through Tasha's season and this one, I'm just not the biggest Blake fan. It's not
You don't trust something about him.
like he's he's just a little off, and I don't know, maybe it's just like the Canadian in him or something. But like
for the Canadian viewers, we
whatever
love you.
reason.
Please don't leave us. Josh loves you too. Don't listen to him.
I do. I'm very open to Canadian.
Yeah, so I mean, like I said, I just jumped back into this, and I'm watching this saying, "Wow, this girl like really likes this guy, and he's been here for all of like 30 minutes. Like he may as well have just showed up and whisked her off her feet, and she's just all about it right now." So I think that like not to go into too much detail, but like I think it's a physical attraction, certainly. Like there's not any sort of I'm certain there's an emotional attraction to it too, but like I think she just finds him very, very physically attractive, and he finds her very, very physically attractive because, you know, she's hot. But
I mean, to be on the show, you have to be a beautiful person. Right?
yeah,
You know,
but
just let
but
anybody on there.
no, of course, but in particular, I think that those two find each other very, very physically interesting, and I think that is driving a lot of that relationship right now. Because otherwise, you know, unless they had something beforehand, which they could have, I don't know, you know, who's to tell, really. Like, where was the... Because my understanding is the show was pretty much set up like, hey, Tasha's like, I know this guy from my season would be good for you, and then Blake just shows up, right? That's what happened the episode prior.
It wasn't exactly that. It was kind of like, oh, well, he's kind of like reached out and asked, and we talked a little bit, and he wasn't sure if he wanted to come on, and then the more he learned about her, Tasha's like, yeah, I'll get you your in, basically.
Okay.
And so they came on and talked while Katie was dealing with other drama and bullshit. And real quick, I think I figured out the thing that bothers me about Blake. One, kind of his fault. The other is more like the producers.
Mm-hmm.
And by kind of his fault, I mean not really him, but it's just the thing about him. I think he has this like empty, dumbfounded look on his face a lot. Or at least I've gotten that sense. But everything's just kind of like questioned. So I don't like. He seems like he's a nice, genuine guy, but I don't know how much depth he has there.
Sure.
And
but that's a little bit of a judgment call too, right? Like, I mean, you don't actually know that. Yeah.
I'm only getting so much of a glimpse of him on the show. But the other thing that bothers me, I guess would entirely be the producers here, is that they've shown like more Blake in the last two episodes than they did some of these other guys that like made it through.
Oh, I didn't. I had to to backtrack and be like, okay, who was that?
There've been guys that have gotten sent home. I'm like, oh, who the heck is that? Like, I vaguely remember seeing their face for some of them. Others, I'm like, nope, never saw you.
This
How
also
are you still around after?
Yeah, this is episode. Yeah, this is like episode 6 or 7. Like, this isn't episode 1. You know what I mean? Like, you should probably know who the remaining guys are, or at least be like, oh yeah, I recognize them.
Happens.
You know? Yeah, episode 1, episode 2, it's like whatever. Like those, they couldn't really develop a storyline in that amount of time. Well, they can for some people, but yeah, a lot of them, it's like it's hard to develop a story with only a couple days worth of information, you know. So,
Right.
but yeah. So the other two guys that she said she was vibing with after a little bit of prodding from Tasha and Caitlin were Andrew S. and Michael A. So I don't know what your thoughts are on either of them, but Andrew S. seems like a nice guy. I liked him. Michael A. seems like just like an amazing person. Like everybody seems to love him. So
Yeah. So
and I know a little
again,
bit about both their backgrounds, and I know they've both had some one-on-one time with her already. So
So I guess to kind of fill you in a little bit, since you've missed some of the earlier drama happenings, whatnot. Michael A, I believe, is the father. Like he's older. He has I believe a son.
Yep,
And
that's my understanding as well.
He's like 36, and he had a wife, but she died.
Yep.
So it's been like challenging on him to come in a little bit and like be here. He didn't express that to anybody until like he got to talk to Katie, and then eventually like talk to everyone else about it just a little bit.
So he's been vulnerable and explained this to people too.
Super wholesome. Yeah, and like he's had the other guys crying, which also, like, I mean, props to the Bachelor series for the growth that they've made, where like they can wash away the toxic masculinity where these guys are just going to be a bunch of like angry bros. Like, they've had emotional connections with each other, just talking, and like aren't afraid to cry in front of each other and all this shit.
Yeah,
like it's a positive thing to see, and I think like that's good for society.
Yeah, so it's like a healthier version of what it has been in the past. You know, like you're seeing people who are a little bit more real and expressing at least things that are a little bit deeper than surface level than maybe they have in past seasons.
Yeah,
so
they're I remember much more emotionally aware, developed.
I mean, there have been plenty. Yeah, I mean, there are plenty of seasons I've seen in the past of this series that have been disappointing with some of the like problematic behaviors, and you know, like it's hard to. I really do find it hard to judge a lot of these people super harshly because they're put into a microcosm. They are like, it's like you throw in all the ingredients to bake a bread and then you're shocked when it comes out to be bread. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if that makes any sense, but like
you're nothing else that they can do pretty much, right? They take away their phones, laptops. It's just hanging out with each other. People are going to get on your nerves.
You're not going to like everybody.
Like, you're going to just end up chatting to people and, like, not meaning to say things that maybe you're thinking, but, you know, and it starts drama. It happens. But
So, but those were kind of the four names she threw out initially at the beginning of the episode.
Yeah. And so
I thought they were reasonable.
I didn't talk about him.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I really like Andrew, too. He became one of my favorites. I would say, like, immediately from the get-go, Greg was my favorite, but then Andrew shot up to number 2.
Okay.
Andrew came in doing this routine where he was talking to Katie in a British accent, and she bought it. She didn't know it was fake.
There was a girl that did that a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
She talked in an Australian accent, but she's not Australian.
His was very good, and she bought it, and then he was like, oh, actually none of that was real, but I'm excited to get to know you. And like she was happy.
It didn't last very long.
And, like, definitely memorable.
Okay.
Yeah, and then they've had a connection since then where like they've I mean, Katie's been vulnerable with everybody. She's opened up about like topics like sexual assault in her past and all that with every man at this point, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, Andrew was able to open up to her too, and he just seems like a very genuine, down to earth kind of guy. So I'm a fan. Good.
So I like the four names that she at least initially threw out from, you know, like, but I mean, like, I kind of am in the same boat. It's like, what is, like, I'll get into my gripes with Blake a little bit later, but pretty much from there, the episode immediately transitions to Katie has a new rule for the guys. She goes, "Hey, I want to see how long you guys can go without essentially, I don't know what I can say on here, spanking the monkey. Is that okay? Like, is that appropriate vernacular? Like, is that
they use all kind of euphemisms on national TV there, so I think you can get away with that.
Yeah. So they did not want any of the guys to resort to any sort of self-love, which it's like what, like a day, 24 hours, right?
Yeah, the idea I think was that they're going to do it for a week.
Oh, okay, I see.
At least, or as long as they could.
As long as
and
they
then
can
they're
last.
like, oh, no shame if you can't, because it's just honoring Katie, really.
Yeah.
You would hope.
But yeah, I mean, it was very awkward the way that they presented it on television as well. Like, I don't know, I mean,
you have to go.
Maybe it's
with
because
a roundabout approach.
Yeah,
right?
sure.
BBC.
Yeah, maybe it's just because it's an otherwise taboo topic that they didn't want to
Also
touch.
that, yeah.
But yeah, I was like, okay, whatever. Like,
yeah, I saw a meme on the Bachelorette subreddit, shout out, that was just like, here's a picture of the producers coming up with this concept, and they're just sitting back there laughing in their studio at the idea that they're going to put in this rule for all the guys. Because it's like, what are the odds that like Tayshia and Caitlyn actually thought of that?
None. I mean, Katie is the one that
right.
presented the idea in the show, but I doubt that she even.
I got that mixed up.
Yeah, I doubt that
still,
she even was like the concept artist behind that, if you will. So.
Well, and so to open Matt's season with Katie introducing herself, I'm sure you've heard about this.
Oh yeah, she was the vibrator girl. So.
Yeah, she shows up with that, and she's like, "Well, I'm not going to need this anymore, so I figured you could have it." And then as she's walking away, she's like, on second thought, after seeing you, I think I am going to need it.
Oh, God. So, wow.
Yeah. And Matt got a kick out of it.
Oh, God. Well, that's something.
So, I mean, like, she's going right there saying that...
that's funny.
A little self-love is okay.
But she wants him to hold off for the week.
From her personality, I take it as all in fun, right?
Oh, I did as well. I just was like I said, the general presentation into the live studio audience there was an inherent awkwardness about it, but it was just kind of like it just kind of gets brought up too, and then like goes away. They bring it up like maybe a little bit later in the episode, but it just kind of is like I don't know really what it added to the episode. They kind of like just took up time. So, but
it came up briefly, like a second here and there later on, but probably something that they're not really going to touch again.
Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, so the next thing that kind of happens, just moving on from that, because like I said, it gets brought up and kind of comes back just briefly and then goes away. But I thought I'd mention it because it was humorous, at least watching. Is the one-on-one. So the first one-on-one goes to Justin, who I did not know anything about other than the memes on all the social media where he's the guy making all the funny faces. So, so Justin gets the wedding one-on-one, which has got to be the worst. Like that's a shitty date. I don't know. I thought
that I'll share at the next one-on-one.
Oh, I'm trying to prepare myself to talk about that because I was very sad and don't know why. But yeah, I think that the wedding one-on-one was just like I don't think it was any fault of his own. I don't really know anything. I don't think he was developed as a character at all this episode, I thought that it was just kind of like wow, this sucks. Like if I was on the show per se and I got this, I'd be like, you know what, I'm just gonna have fun because this is stupid, Like, I mean,
Yeah,
for real.
I mean, like,
Like, it's
Justin
I hate
hasn't
that
really
date.
gotten very much character development thus far.
Mhm.
All he really got out of that one-on-one, too, as far as the viewer goes,
Uh-huh.
was just to see, okay, well, maybe there actually is some sort of connection there, or at least,
I didn't feel it.
after having that kind of experience, Katie wasn't ready to send him home.
Yeah, I did not watch the that part of that date and think, you know what, these guys are really hitting it off. I felt like it was very forced. I did not think that there was like a genuine connection between the two of them. I would not be surprised if he goes home next week. So
Yeah.
like I don't know. Like I watched that and I watched the conversations they had. And so, something important to bring up too is like, so after they did the wedding portion of the date, they took pictures and they wrote their vows. Also, I want to bring up a quote that I wrote down for this. So, I wrote my thoughts. I said, "The wedding is cheesy." I said, and this is why. So Katie wrote this vow. I don't know if she came up with this or if this was producer driven or whatever, but you are the paint that colored my world. And I was like, I cringed so fucking hard that
Yeah.
I was like, what the hell did you just say?
Let's avoid using that term.
Yeah,
Like,
I was like,
even if it is
cringe.
fully well-natured, let's just not go near that.
Yeah, I was like, this is just like, I did not, I was like, that's just so cheesy. Like, I cannot believe they just said that. So, didn't like that. But, and then the other thing about the actual like wedding scene that I wrote down, I was like, this cake makeout scene is God, GAWD. Because I was I was like, oh my God. What am I watching here?
Best of both worlds.
I was like, they're both covered in cake. They're messy. They're sticky. They're covered in God knows what else type of bodily fluids. But yeah, I was very
Sounds like my kind of date.
No, it doesn't, Josh. I'm sorry. But yeah, I mean, I saw that and I was like, like this was this date sucked. But then I was like, maybe there's a physical attraction there, but I don't see him going much further at this point, honestly, like based off what I saw. But the one date continues, and there's some things that happen back at the house in between, and we'll kind of circle back to that too. But they go to dinner, and there's some guy that plays music for them, and presumably neither of them it's their ex-boyfriend. So I was happy they at least didn't cause that type of drama again from previous seasons. But they ended up having a tough conversation, and I would say Katie had a tough conversation because I didn't feel like Justin really added anything to the he just kind of thanked her for sharing that, which is good. I mean, I'm glad he did that, but he didn't really like add anything to it, So Katie was talking, she's like, hey, like it's hard for me in this type of position thinking about a wedding, knowing that the guy, my father who raised me has since passed away, and then to find out later that it wasn't actually her biological father, because I guess her mother kept that a secret from her. That was my understanding of the conversation.
Yeah. I agree.
And then her now biological father is trying to kind of reintroduce himself into her life. Is that kind of how you interpreted that conversation as well?
Yeah, that's how it seemed to go, and that's always a weird situation.
Yep.
Like hard to navigate, both like on her own and then as a partner to try and support somebody through that. There's not really much you can do there other than just to say follow.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll support you.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Justin handled it well, but like I said, at the end of the day, at the end of the one-on-one, when he got the rose, I was like, I don't feel like they had that strong of a connection overall. I just felt like they they just kind of went through the motions of what a date is like. Like, I just kind of
honestly, like,
I don't know.
She might have been probing to see, but after a date like that, I think it's really hard to send the guy home.
Yeah.
So
I see. Like, if
whether she was like
you're gonna
fully
feel,
into it or not, I think she at least was able to figure out if there was going to be something.
yeah,
And I think again by the end of the episode too, if she was in that same head state, she might have also sent him home then.
yeah. I
But
mean,
yeah,
that's
the
fair.
rose.
So yeah, I mean, I think that anytime you share something that's difficult with somebody, that obviously opens yourself up to some sort of emotional attachment as well. And so immediately in that like Perry, you know, time frame, if you will, you know, maybe she felt closer to him and gave him the rose. But yeah, I think my overall impression of that one-on-one date was like not that great though. I was like, she likes these other guys more. I don't know why he's still here. So, but that's just me. But yeah.
I would agree.
Okay. So, you know, going back to the house, because, you know, obviously there's cut scenes and this is not a linear episode by any means, but the other guys are sitting around talking and they are, Odin, please don't. The other guys are, come here. The other guys are talking and Hunter and Greg, they cut to a scene of them and Hunter and Greg are talking and Hunter goes, I think Katie probably already has her top 4 picked out. You know, he says something along those lines at least. And he goes, I think it's me, Greg, Connor, and just somebody else, essentially. And, you know, just like gossip and wildfire, it spreads around the house, and all the guys are like, Hunter's sneaky, he's calculated, he's on, apparently, these Bachelor and Bachelorette forums. Who knew those existed? There's my in for the next season, you know? But, yeah, I mean, did you know that was a thing? I had no idea. But, yeah, so he's on the forums.
You mean like Reddit?
Well, yeah, maybe it was Reddit. I have no idea. They called them forums.
He
it
put
seemed
a
like
shout out on Reddit on his Instagram post today.
Okay, so yeah.
So I think that's probably like the main place people speak of when they speak of forums at this point.
Probably.
But yeah, I mean,
so a lot of the episode moves forward, and there's a lot of Hunter hate from the guys moving forward. Do you think it was warranted? That's my question right now. Like, do you think that all this kind of like the word shade gets thrown around a lot later too? But do you think?
I have to say,
yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I asked you a question. I keep talking.
I know. Host better, Lewis. So this, I was reflecting on this today, actually, and so to say, Hunter came into the show, and he kind of at first seemed to me like he was going to be like this goofball kind of guy. But then the show went on, his character that the producers painted anyway came out to be more of like this cocky, aggressive guy. So it was just, you know, not a huge fan, but with as far as anything that he actually did or said on camera,
I was unimpressed.
I don't think that there was anything that bad, but also I don't think he put off anything that would warrant this connection that Katie claimed to have with him. Yeah, I was very confused when she mentioned that a couple of times about him, and so it's also hard for me to watch Hunter because after like the first episode, I saw a comment, I think on Reddit actually, where they're like, "Oh, you know, Hunter's actually just Walmart Taylor Lautner." I'm like, yeah, that seems pretty accurate. Not to be a dick to the guy, but you know that's kind of the look he has, where he's not quite as handsome as Taylor Lautner. He's a little shorter. Just, you know, that's the vibe.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like I did not think anything he said or did was particularly heinous. Like, I really was just not that like taken aback by the comments he made. You know, like if I'm sitting around, I've been here for a weeks. You know, like at least a couple weeks now, filming this show, and I'm sitting. It's like I think she has the best connection with A, B, C, and D, and I think those are probably the guys that are going to the Final Four. Like, I think that would be a normal thing to say. You know, I've got nothing else to talk about.
I
Or
don't feel like that's too scheming, and of course, like probably with a combination of being a pretty good-looking guy
Mm-hmm.
and being on that show, being competitive, you're just going to be like, yeah, of course I'm going to go on. Every guy wants to believe that they're having the connection. They're not sitting also like watching Katie's interaction with these other guys one-on-one, so they don't know the conversations they're having. So I mean, yeah, I don't fault him at all for his interaction there, where he's like, yeah, I think I'm in the top 4. I think Katie probably has this about figured out. Like anybody like truly like actually paying attention to anything else is going to see, okay, she seems to like go back to this guy more than this guy. He's probably gonna stick around. He's probably gonna go home. And then like it's the smaller steps in between people that are harder to see.
Yeah.
But you can see what's sticking to the top and to the bottom.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop you real quick. Will, too, this is a call-in show, so if you want to join the Discord link, I can drag you in, and you're welcome to share some of your comments too. But on this, but Will said the only thing that makes the Final Four comment weird is that when you throw out that apparently he's checking forums for the official power rankings. But that would have you can't look at your phone or anything while you're there, I don't think. So I think that was probably something that was happening.
They take all that
beforehand
away from you.
Yeah.
In theory.
In theory, yeah. So, but yeah, like if anybody's watching and wants to join, like join the lobby. I'll be periodically bringing people in to kind of add their comments to the show as well. So you won't be able to join the actual chat that me and Josh are in, but you'll be able to join my lobby, and I can drag you from there. But yeah, so that's kind of what's going on there. So. Only question is what I need to know about the season to catch up on the current. To be honest, didn't know the season had started. Yeah, I watched this last episode, and if you watch this last episode, you're actually pretty well in tune with what's going on. You know,
yeah,
I thought
you haven't missed too much.
Yeah,
most of the guys that have gone out
were kind of duds.
Like the guys that you're gonna toss out anyway. Yeah.
Yeah.
No big drama out of all of it really either.
Yeah.
Yeah, 6 episodes.
I was hooked on this episode, Will. So watch the first one, was like, yes, I have to be watching this now, and I hate myself for it, and we're doing a recap show. But yeah, so
to skip forward and continue on to the group date, that's where
we're going next
kind of thing with Hunter came up.
Oh, with the because I'm not falling in love with her. Maybe I am falling in love with you.
I'm not falling in love with her. Oh, hey Katie, I'm falling in love with you.
So we had we had a group date next, and we saw this, and so everybody but Connor goes on the group date because Connor has a one-on-one coming up later. And then obviously Justin went on his one-on-one, so he wasn't there either. And what they did for the group date is they brought in two what I understand are famous drag queens, and Katie, and they had the guys essentially try to do a roast of each other where they said what I think was supposed to be witty, but none of these people have any sort of wit to them, is what I learned. And
yeah, I gotta say,
I was bored.
I was incredibly disappointed with the roast. I kind of forgot as I was watching it
that they were supposed to be saying roasting. Yeah, I thought so too. I was like this group date sucks. It is not clever or witty to go to somebody and be like, "You're short, I'm gonna call you a leprechaun." You don't think that somebody that is short has heard that from some sort of schoolyard bully in their life? That was essentially the worst thing that was said. And then the guys were just like, you know what, we're gonna continue to rag on Hunter. He sucks. So, but I was like, okay, whatever. But yeah, I was disappointed with the roast portion of it. I don't know about you.
2 seasons ago, when Claire was in, still before Tayshia, I think this was the episode where Claire finally made her decision that she was going to end her season. They did a roast, and basically all the guys ended up there was some roasting of each other, but most of it was focused on Dale because they were so sick of Dale and how cocky he was at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, again, that kind of prompted Claire to go off on everybody and like end the show. But between that and Katie's personality, I think everybody was kind of afraid of taking any like bigger shots at each other because they want to come off as like drama free, not
certainly you could say something
because they know Katie does not want you to be starting shit.
Certainly you could say something that was funny, witty, and not like too super hurtful, because all I heard were things that were like designed to hurt somebody and that were not funny. Like I didn't laugh. I was just kind of like bored with that. So
yeah, no, that was my feeling. I had my phone out and I was kind of just half paying attention through that. It was definitely lackluster.
Yeah, but back to what you brought up earlier. So one of the drag queens comes up to Hunter and asks him, "Hey, do you think you're falling in love with Katie?" And he says something to the liking of like, I don't like throwing around that term. I think I might be getting there soon, but like, no, I'm not like necessarily falling in love with her at the moment. And Trey, another contestant on The Bachelorette, overhears that conversation and reiterates it back at the roast. He said, because Hunter then follows up, he goes, during the roast, he goes, "I think that I'm falling for you, or I'm falling in love with you," or something like that. I don't know. They throw some of these, like, "I'm beginning to fall in love with you," as if I know what that's supposed to mean anyway. Like that's just nonsense. Nobody says that. So
I think I might be starting to begin to have feelings of something that might resemble love.
I know, yeah.
Or
it's
something
like
about you and possibly your person.
Yeah, I might like you tomorrow. We'll see. But yeah, and so Hunter kind of, in my opinion, kind of redacted what he said earlier. Like he's like, "Oh, got to go for the big play now that I'm kind of back in a corner." But
absolutely.
So you felt the same
then
way?
He gets called out for it.
Yeah. So I don't know. You kind of take over. You tell me kind of what your thoughts are on this. Like what, like, do you think that Hunter kind of redacted his statement? Do you think that it was kind of like it was here and there? Like it was totally different, or do you think it was kind of like blown out of proportion, based off what the guys called him out for?
No, I think it was enough. 'Cause I think the drag queens got in on this too, where they're like, "Well, we just asked you this," and I don't know if he.
You there?
My theory.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, my theory. Sorry, I was composing myself.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that Hunter had a moment where he kind of forgot he was on camera. Maybe, and got defensive in front of the drag queens, and said that, forgot that other people were around to listen, and then he is like, "Oh shit, maybe shouldn't have said that. Oh well, I think I'm doing well, but I'm gonna be the first guy to tell Katie he loves her."
Yeah,
or something like that.
Gotta go for the big play
not
now.
Not knowing if anybody else has. Yeah, and
I already screwed it. I gotta go for the big play. Yeah,
because she's just going to be so impressed by this statement of my emotions and feelings, and this is just going to show that I'm mature and more far along than these other guys.
Yeah,
to her.
And so that kind of
he kind of fluttered a little bit on his attempt at saying that too, so it was also kind of half-assed there, and then he just got caught in this bad spot that made him look like an idiot.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it was a good look. So I think we're on the same page. Was not a good look. It lost Hunter some points for me. It kind of validated maybe some of the thoughts that the other guys were sharing earlier in my mind. I was like, well, maybe he's not sneaky or fake necessarily, but he's definitely not consistent with his verbiage. So, But yeah, so moved on from there to kind of the afternoon of the group date. You know, they were all sitting around talking. Katie and Greg have a moment. Blake and Katie have a moment as well that I will comment on. So I'm not entirely sure that Blake and Katie even talked. It looked like they just kind of made out for like the entire time they were back there. I don't know if they said 2 words to each other. It was just all tongue. And then Greg and Katie had a moment where she's like, how do you feel about us, right? And he seems a little insecure to me. I don't think he's like 100% on board based off the conversation he had with her at that moment.
So he had the comment earlier in the episode too, where he didn't realize that you could get a second one-on-one date.
Yeah,
so
that seems
I
fake.
think that kind of brought out some of the insecurity where he's like, oh wait, we had the first one-on-one, so maybe like at this point I should have expected a second one to really build on that. And he's had little chances where he's gotten to talk to her, but definitely not the same kind of attention that he started out with. So I mean, like, I get where he's coming from with it, and I mean, if he hasn't really gotten that much time with her, I don't think he's hearing this in the back network the same way that, like, I mean, not hearing that she is telling, like, Tasha and Caitlin and, like, other people know that, yeah, she's really Greg.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that they were probably a lot more solid, and just listening to that conversation, I was like, maybe not. Maybe she likes him more than he likes her. So, I don't know. I mean, it just kind of, it seems sus. It seemed a little sus.
I don't know about that. I feel like Greg is definitely into her.
Okay.
I think it's just like, yeah, he's kind of at the point where he's like, okay, well, let's continue to have these really deep conversations, because they got into stuff talking about Katie's dad and everything, and how she lost him and stuff in their one-on-one date. So I feel like it's like, okay, we got this deep already, and now we've kind of just fallen back to the surface level stuff. So it's like, yeah, we're having a good time, but are you really into me still? Because now it feels like maybe we've taken that
step back,
and that's confusing to him.
You know what? I think some of the relationships maybe have developed from, they were kind of always here, and some of the relationships have kind of come up here, and they're getting closer to him. I don't think anybody else is near Greg yet. I still think he's like probably the favorite to win Katie's love, and I don't know, get married, whatever they do. But they, I think
an engagement, Lewis.
It ends with an engagement.
The show before.
Yeah, I've seen it a lot, actually. But yeah, I mean, so there's that, and then some of the guys engage in the kiss of death of the show at the group date. They say Hunter's fake, Hunter's fake, Hunter's fake again. So Trey, James, I don't even remember. I think that guy's name is Austin. He brings it up, and they're like, "Hey, Hunter is fake. You should be aware of this." And then Katie gets like visibly ill, and then cancels the rest of the group date. Right. So those are kind of the events that happened. And,
So let me take a quick second to take you on a tangent.
Sure.
So, yeah, as you mentioned, Trey was involved in this week's incident there that kind of got Katie to cancel the end of the group date. So when they first introduced Trey, I really liked Trey. He seemed like such a cool guy. He seemed like somebody I could vibe with. And even now, maybe I still could. Like, it's not so much that I don't like him now, but I lost a lot of my in him, because there was another guy. So there have been 2 guys basically before this that have gotten booted off the show because they were there for the wrong reasons. Basically, they were more so going for fame, or at least were exposed for it.
Sure.
And so the first time it was pretty clear and it got resolved like fairly quick, but like it definitely upset Katie.
Mm-hmm.
And so when this other guy comes out with it, it's kind of something everybody in the house knows. I guess really except for Katie.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of been dealt with already.
Mm-hmm.
And like Katie's already been upset once. So there's a Trey is basically leading the push and actually takes the initiative himself to go and tell Katie, hey, you kind of rewarded the guy last time for calling out this guy who's maybe not here. So I'm gonna tell you about it, and I kind of want the same reward. And he felt very good about himself after. He was very smug. But like Andrew and maybe like Greg, I think were kind of there saying, hey, we don't need to do this. She was just upset before. Like, she's gonna figure it out. Don't worry, we need to have trust in her. And so yeah, Trey then got rewarded with the 8 rows, and I didn't like that. I agreed with like Andrew and Greg.
Sure.
A little biased, being like my 2 favorite guys, but I'm just like, let's give Katie some benefit of the doubt here that she's gonna like see this in him. She's not sending home other good guys and keeping him around at this point. She's still weeding through them. So like I was disappointed in that. And then you know he just really annoyed me with that. He came back last week and got emotional when Michael A was talking about his wife and stuff. And like overall I think he's a very genuine, well-intentioned guy. I'd just like to have that conversation with him personally, being like, hey, I think you need to handle this differently. Like, I see your point, but this is also going to start more drama than it is by telling her than it would be to just leave it alone.
Sure.
So,
yeah. I mean, it seemed like it was just kind of like,
point of view.
Yeah. I mean, to me, that seems like the Bachelor kiss of death. If you're gonna go on there and take the time that you have to get to know this person, and then just talk about how many problems you have with person X, Y, or Z, that's also just going to take their time to talk about themselves and their relationship, you're wasting your time.
As Trey brings up, going into the rose ceremony,
he said it too.
He's like, oh shit, I don't think I even actually spent any time talking about myself. I just talked about Hunter.
Yep. And I get
like,
I get it. It's hard, right? Because like I said,
for being able to recognize it now.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's got to be frustrating to sit there and watch somebody like you view as being a bad person or fake or anything, like push themselves in between someone you like and yourself.
Yep.
Like hey, it's obvious to me. I want it to be obvious to you.
No, I see that. I mean, I agree with that too. It's like it's got to be hard in that type of environment to just like be able to just like bite your tongue, and then because that's going to be that thought that is just always there. That's going to just grind at you, and how people choose to cope with it in that type of environment is different. And you do see people all the time. They say, you know what, I'm going to bring it up to the lead and say, hey, I have a problem with this type of behavior, and this is why. And they just waste their time, essentially, because, like I said, it's taking away from their time to get to know the lead and figure out things about them and see if there's any sort of budding relationship that they may have. So
there are some ways to do it, but yeah, I think it's got to be like, hey, there's this thing that's bothered me, but I like. We'll talk about that if you want, but I want to spend my time talking about you and telling you about me. Like,
bring it up, move on.
Let's do that.
Yeah, bring it up and move on.
Yeah, just
kill it, squash it.
I guess what really bothered me with Trey about that was just that, like, the smugness that he seemed to have after he did it. Like he was so
proud of himself,
self-righteous and proud of what he did. And I'm like, man, that's something you do, but you're like, I don't want to do this. I feel like I'm wasting my time doing this.
Yeah. So, and that kind of is where the group date ends, though, right? Like, I don't really have any more to add to
Mm-hmm.
that. So,
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and move on, because then we get to the second one-on-one with Connor B, and I get my soul crushed and sucked out of me, essentially, and I don't think I'm ever going to get it back. So, opens up, Katie and Connor B. He's so excited for this date. I mean, I think it's very genuine, too. Like, it just seems like a very genuine reaction. Like, he's like, I'm so excited that I get to have this date with this, like, amazing woman type of deal. And so it's a good date, much better than pretending to get married. They get to double date with Caitlin and Jason. They're playing sports.
You say this, Lewis. You say this.
Yes.
But I'm going to argue that this is the true kiss of death in The Bachelor franchise.
What's the kiss?
When I have seen contestants go on this fun one-on-one date, like every time in the last few seasons that I can remember, this has directly led to the contestant being kicked off.
Oh, I felt the entire time, Josh, that it was going to end poorly. Like, there was... I think that it's just watching the seasons enough, too. You start to recognize patterns, and you say... when I was watching, I said, this is going to end bad, and I'm going to be sad. That was pretty much my initial impression, was that it's like... I was like, I'm going to be literally soul crushed. I don't know why I'm so invested in this man. Like... I don't know why. Like,
you didn't even see his intro, Lewis.
I saw he was dressed up as a cat. I saw he was dressed up like a cat, and I was like, sold.
Was making out with her with kitten mittens on in their first like one-off.
No, I mean, I was like he just seemed like a very nice guy and seemed like so genuinely happy to be having this experience and being able to go on a date with her that I was just really rooting for him.
He seems like a very genuine guy. He opened up a few episodes ago talking about like the dark places he's been in his life, but he seems like he's done a lot to like turn himself around, get his life back on track. He's a kids teacher.
I know, I saw that too.
It was weird in one of his like intro videos that he had. He was like playing guitar in the bathtub. It's like, oh man, his poor students that have to see that. That's weird.
That is a little weird, but oh well. But yeah,
it was confirmed though that he's going to be in Bachelor in Paradise.
I saw that too.
Going to be extra weird for his kids.
Yeah, but
if they are allowed to watch that, hopefully not. Parents be better.
Sure. But yeah, so the one-on-one date, double date with Caitlin and Jason playing volleyball. First impression, Connor's not an athlete. He doesn't know how to hit the ball, but it doesn't matter, right? Like, they're having fun, and I don't know if it was just kind of producer driven or whether they were just kind of led up to it, but it's like Caitlin and Jason really seem to be rooting for Connor too. Like, they seem to like him.
Yeah.
They're like, this seems like a good guy. From what I know about Katie, they seem like they would match really well. But Katie keeps bringing up that she was like, we just didn't have that spark, that little thing when we kissed the first time, we didn't have that spark. And she's like, I'm really looking for that. In the second,
they've made out a few times too.
Well, then
he went back after that first one. He's like, "Yeah, I really botched that one up. I was super nervous."
Didn't he say my hands were weird? And
he left the mittens on. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's.
He's like, I should have taken those off. That was weird.
That's a great. We need to add that to our playbook, Josh. So
yeah, bring out the kitten mittens.
Yeah, no, maybe not that, but
next time I go to the bar.
No, you not to disparage our furry community.
Can't
that's
do
probably
worse
watching
than I
this,
am
but yeah, no, the anyway, you really sidetracked me there.
I apologize.
So, the date goes on. They're not really like talking too in depth, but they have a makeout session, and he's like, "What are we gonna do tonight?" And Katie's like, "I don't know." And I was like, fuck. That was the only thing that I thought. I was like, oh, damn it. She's going to break up with him. And I'm going to have my soul crushed. And I don't know how to handle it. I was like, I am too emotionally invested in this show that I've seen literally one episode this season of. And, like, I'm rooting for this guy. And I just know that I'm gonna get crushed and be upset. But yeah, so my this is what I wrote. I wrote, I love Connor. This kiss is steamy. And then the next sentence I wrote was, this is bullshit. I'm mad. So the next scene we get is Katie coming crying, not dressed up nice, and I was like, it's over. Well, she looked nice. She just wasn't fancy dressed like you would expect. Yeah. But she comes in and knock on the door. And did you just do that knock? Or am I going crazy? Okay, I'm going crazy.
Oh, I set my bourbon down.
Oh, it sounded like when I said knock on the door, I heard like that, and it made me laugh. But anyway, and she has a conversation. It's not you, it's me. We just don't have that spark. We need to break up. And the entire time,
she did
Connor,
say something at one point about his kissing being bad.
Yeah,
she not
was
right for her.
And that was the best line of the episode right there. Was like when Connor goes, Connor's crying, and he goes, "Am I really that bad of a kisser?" And I just felt so bad for the guy. Like I was just I was just like,
twist you in the heart.
I was like, oh my god, because that's not it. Like, I mean, come on, but I mean, I don't know, but it's probably not it. So I was just like, wow. I mean, it's just like as if this wasn't just like gut wrenching enough to watch. And then he says that, and I'm just like, I'm broken. And then he goes and says bye to all the guys, and they're all crying and super sad that he's leaving. Oh my
god, yeah.
Like, they seem more upset about him leaving than them possibly getting booted. So,
and, like Trey was crying there again, and I'm like, it like that helps restore my faith that he is like actually a genuinely good person, and somewhere in life, if we meet, I could share a drink with him and have a good time.
I didn't dislike Trey. It just he didn't like spark me as somebody that she was particularly interested in, and I thought he kind of had that kiss of death too.
Oh yeah, he never got too much time with her anyway.
But I was just like, when Connor went home, I was like, "There's no love."
Tough to see. All the guys like really cared.
No love here.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, what are your thoughts? Like
about them.
Like, were you up?
Like brothers and everything.
Do you think you were as upset as I was from what I'm sharing with you right now on Connor getting sent home? Or were you a little bit like, I mean, he's not my favorite, but he's good, but like I like other guys more. This isn't like the worst thing.
So, Connor came on.
You're a heartless son of a bitch.
I did not like him with the cat costume and stuff, and like he came in with a bunch of puns. I was just like, oh man, this guy is going to be spazzy and annoying, and I'm not going to be able to deal with him. And as I watched the show, I fell in love with Connor. I began to like him a lot more.
Oh my gosh, I was just like I said, I had one episode and I was like, he's great.
I think I
want this guy to be my best friend.
Great guy.
So
yeah, and like personally, like I see myself probably somewhere in the combination of a Connor and a Greg.
Okay.
So
I gotta see myself like the guys that that I like the best.
So I feel like I am like I'm somewhere in there, so I've got to root for them.
Yeah.
Like, if they can be successful, so can I.
Yeah.
If I like actually work out some, but like
it's not, you don't need six packs abs for love. Let me tell you, this is a
no
woefully single
you
person.
Don't. And like I think that like both Connor and Greg would get by just fine without taking their shirts off on that show, and not every guy that's in there can say that.
That's fair. There's not a whole lot of personality with some people, but yeah. So Connor goes home. Everybody shares a cry. I was upset. I was distraught. But then
but before you move on,
go ahead.
I want to